Hey guys, welcome back to Clockwork Noodles for the 20th episode of Season 2 Vinland Saga. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys are having a great week and you're looking after yourselves. It was a heavy episode, but I've actually got some stuff that I want to nerd out over if you guys will let me. Music as well. Sometimes there's an often overlooked element when it comes to anime. It was a very big episode. We seem to have swung into a course now where I think I can see where the next 4 episodes are going to go. Does make me wonder if we're going to get a Season 3. Because I don't think we're going to finish Vinland Saga in 4 episodes. Hopeful we're going to get a Season 3, but there was no announcement at Mappa's panels. I think Mappa is a little bit overwhelmed right now. It does worry me that they've taken on too much and we might not get a Season 3 anytime soon, but we'll have to see how it goes. If you guys are not subscribed, please consider giving the channel a subscription. It really does help. We are 6 noodlings away from being 700. I am very excited and hoping we can hit that by August. Let's get straight to it. But the battlefield sequence itself, I do find battles can be very hit and miss when it comes to anime. Mappa is definitely going to be on the hit side of things because I was very impressed that in some of those long shots where you see a lot of things going on in the same shot, every element was animated. There was very little or none whatsoever when it came to static images or static elements in a scene. Bloody, it was brutal. In one of the sequences I can recall a fight going on in the foreground, and in the background you can see another soldier kicking a man in the chest. Layers on layers when it comes to lots of things to go back and look at when it comes to animation. Chaotic, which is exactly what these things come down to. Snake coming in very last minute to save one of his men. Why I like Snake, and I think Snake's a fantastic character. Very happy to see him walking in the right direction when it comes to the end of the episode when the battle is over. But it all comes down to what is now going to happen on the beach when it comes to Thorfinn versus Canute. Ketil is angry when the call for a retreat sounds off, despite the fact there's a loss of life. He can see that they are not going to win and it's just a losing battle. And the fact as well, he hasn't moved an inch, he hasn't killed anybody, he's just rooted to the spot. I get that, that's what a leader's supposed to do, because once you're down, that's it, you're gone. Leaders, or where you've got your commanders, they tend not to move because once you're captured, that's it. I'm angry at Ketil in general. You guys know that I don't like Ketil. For him to be able to see the fact that the only way out of this is for you to lose, and then for him to get angry when a man is basically telling him the truth. There's no winning on this anymore. You are no better than us. The anime has been trying to drive that fact by telling us that it's luck that divides a man from being a slave to a master. Those debts really don't really mean anything because you're about to be invaded by the king. You're losing. So if you lose, well, those debts mean nothing regardless, and it's better than losing your life on a battlefield. I call it a coin flip. Flips the sides of things. Up to this point, Ketil has been a master, but now no one's listening to him, so finally he gets to understand what it's like. There is a massive cliffhanger when it comes to Ketil, whether he had died or not. Canute ends up seeing men starting to retreat, and his men are attacking retreating men. He seemingly waits a little while. He kind of waits for them to do some damage, and then he mentions the fact that actually you're going against what I've asked. Now, if we had a scale of brutality, 100% at the top where you murder everybody, leave none alive, Canute isn't up at the brutal level. And I'm happy that he's not at a brutal level because I do actually back Canute in a sense. It does state we're going to treat the bodies with care, we're going to return them to their families. I think even on the boat, he says, as long as they don't oppose me, I'm not going to be doing anything. I'll only oppose you if you have a sword in your hand. He's giving people a chance who lay down their weapons and walk off. He even gave them time to flee. If anything, I have respect for the way Canute is running because he doesn't want to add extra casualties, although it does seem that he waited a little while before raising his anger that his men were attacking them despite the fact they were retreating. Thorgil versus Canute, another fantastic moment of this week's episode. Sheer force of Thorgil bringing his sword up to Canute literally almost snaps his sword in half. That is just impressive. I always wonder if it's possible to do that damage in real life. I've not actually had any experience with a real life sword. I'm curious to know whether that is just a flair of dramatic when it comes to the anime, whether it's actually possible to snap a sword in half like this, but it's certainly an impressive display of power. Canute is visibly shaken. You can see he is panicking. You've got the sweat going down. You've got a damaged hand. Just for a moment, even if it's just a tiny moment, Thorgil managed to change the flow of the battle. Despite the fact he didn't know if Ketil was alive or dead, it didn't matter. He was focused on taking Canute's head because it's a case of take the king and you're out of it. Although I don't know what Thorgil would have done if he had actually killed the king, because he would have basically been committing high treason. Canute was almost screwed until Wolf came in and saved his life. If Wolf had not jumped in at that point, Canute Canute was probably dead, change minute by minute. It's that next second when Thorgil is then outnumbered and he's forced to retreat. He could have literally ended the story right there. I'm guessing the story would die with Canute. Maybe not. I guess Thorfinn's got a long journey still, but major part of the story would have just been ended like that. Ketil ends up surviving by luck. Apparently, if he had been more prominent, they would have probably captured him or killed him. If that's the case, I do actually wonder how they would have known to stop fighting, because Ketil was down. He was on the floor. They were only retreating because Snake had said retreat. Snake didn't know that Ketil was on the floor. Whether he had seen him struck or not, I don't think it's the case. It does make me wonder, how would they have known to stop? Let's say Ketil had died. How would he have known to stop fighting? The next transition via an audio cue is absolutely beautiful, and this is when I'm going to start nerding out a little bit. It's a sound travelling across the hills, which leads us to Arnheid and her dying speech, which was ruined for me 2 episodes ago. But the speech itself is something very, very special because it resonates exactly with Thorfinn. I'm not going to go because there's no promise that there's not going to be a war. Thorfinn wants to create a place where there are no slaves, no wars, to resonate with him because he realises that at this point, they have nowhere to go. She asks them where they're going and they haven't got a place to go just yet. Seeing those turning moments in the plot where Thorfinn starts to grow, mature, or finds a motivation. And I think this is a very important moment for him because it actually spurs him to take action. It spurs the character to have a drive. She knows that her family are waiting for her. Kind of figured that this was going to happen one way or another because I couldn't see what her role in the rest of the story was going to be. And I thought it was probably going to make more sense for the author to choose this option because it would have more impact on Thorfinn. A huge reason to now act, to now decide that this is what I'm going to do. When we hear her saying that there's no point, all my loved ones are dead, it's also another moment that resonates with Thorfinn because once upon a time, at the beginning of this very season, he stood there and said that there was no point. He didn't know why he was alive because there was no one for him, even though he seems to have forgotten that he has got a sister. It resonates in the same way because he sees a broken person just like he was back at the beginning of the season. Now, I don't know if CPR was around during this point. I'm shocked to see Thorfinn knowing it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys can enlighten me on this one. When was CPR? I want to say invented, but I don't think inventing CPR is a thing. Now let me start nerding out. I want to bring it to your attentions because I don't know if you yourselves also recognise this. The music when Arnheid is passing over, both piano and strings together at their loudest. At their loudest, they kick in, they play. Arnheid passes over and leaving our story. The piano is on its own. The strings have departed. The piano plays very, very softly. As you see Einar, a broken man, you see him crying. You feel like he was going to confess, maybe not. Once you see those tears coming from Einar, the piano vanishes and you're left with silence. I've always said that the most powerful thing when it comes to music is silence. Your ear doesn't know what's going on. Up until this point, you've been blasted by very beautiful classical music, and then it's gone. It's quiet. Music is replaced by nature. All we can hear is waves and the wind. It's a very powerful moment. I want to draw attention to it because it is very, very clever the way they have constructed it to be a build and then a dropout of having nothing. The piano then starts up again when Thorfinn starts to tell the story of Vinland, stating now that his character has essentially a new motivation, a new plan. This point as well, you can see almost a glint or admiration in Leif's eyes as he looks at Thorfinn because Thorfinn has matured into such a strong and mature character. He wants to have a talk with Canute, but I can't really imagine it going down very well. To what degree he's going to be able to convince Canute to do something. I don't quite know what his angle is going to be. It's also a interesting contrast because you can see how calm and composed Thorfinn is next to his friend Einar, who is now filled with rage, out of control, blinded by rage literally because it looks like he's got the whites of his eyes showing. He wants to kill Ketil. We've seen a lot of people in this anime do, is going to take a life for a life. Thorfinn is able to serve as an example. You need to stop. You're going to become just like me. You're going to follow this path and it's going to be an endless cycle where nothing can be gained by taking a life for a life. Very upset to see Einar smack Thorfinn, but he is just angry. Like I said, he is consumed by his rage. It reminded me of one of those Thorgil moments where Thorgil's eyes also roll back and you get the whites of the eyes. A lone string start to play. Thorfinn comforts Einar, which I thought was very, very powerful. Music-wise, again, as we are looking out at the sea, we just have the beautiful tinkling gentle piano, which I thought was very interesting because it's playing quarter notes, but it sounds like we were playing 16th notes. We're playing lots and lots of notes. They're tinkly. It reminds me of the ocean. As we look out at the ocean, it's very, very gentle, and the lighting is also very nice. Arnhide's final resting place is out looking at the ocean, and also ironic because Thorfinn is telling her we will meet again in Vinland. I don't think that particular bit of ocean looks at America, but I do like the thought behind it. It would seem that we are going to get a Canute and Thorfinn meeting sooner than I presumed we would be. I'm very nervous now because I don't quite know what's going to happen. Thorfinn definitely seems to have something to say. He also has this very, very powerful moment with Leif. I'm now proud of my ancestors. Once upon a time, as a kid, I saw it as lame. And as a mature person who's also lived the life that I've lived, I now see it as something amazing. It's such a nice moment, and I really just want Thorfinn and Leif to return to Iceland. I also would like to know if Thorfinn's sister is still alive, whether we're ever going to get a reunion there. He does seem to intend to return alive. He says, look, they've got 100 men. I'm probably going to come back alive. Thorfinn, you haven't fought in a very long time. Even old Thorfinn probably wouldn't be able to take them all out. We know that's not what you're going to do. You're not going in there with the intention of beating anyone up. I don't quite know how next week's going to go. It seems like next week will be Thorfinn versus Canute, maybe in words. I also want to believe that Canute would actually listen. I don't think he's going to attack Thorfinn. I do wonder if he's actually going to recognise Thorfinn because it's been quite some time. In my heart, I want to believe that Canute isn't just going to strike out randomly, because even this week he seems that he doesn't want retreating men or people who are unarmed to be killed. Thorfinn's going unarmed. A fantastic episode. I thought it was really beautifully orchestrated. I thought a lot of moments were very nicely directed. There was a lot of very nice animation. The audio this week was a treat. Absolutely loved listening to the audio this week. Resolve to the Catil arc in a sense. Catil's now a broken man with Snake. Not quite sure he's going to have anybody listening to him now. I guess he's proven who he really is to everybody who ran away anyway. Even if Canute is persuaded to leave, Catil's not going to be the same old Catil as he used to be. People aren't going to listen to him. Interested to see how pieces now start to fall. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you guys loved this episode as much as I did. At least I've pointed out some bits that you can go back and listen to when it comes to music. I thought the music was very, very powerful. Have a good day, guys. Thank you for your support. Bye bye.